we want to retire or we want to quit our jobs. And by quit our jobs, let's call that early retirement or not even retirement at all. We want to leave the place that we go to every day and call a job, call our work, to move into a next chapter of our life. I like the way that sounds better. So we want to quit working for somebody else. But when you do that, regardless of what label you're putting over it, you need to be aware more than just your paycheck's going to change. There's some social friendships, experiences. There's a lot of stuff tied with your job that you may not fully, I don't want to say appreciate, but when it's no longer there, there's going to be some gaps in your life more than just your bank account on a regular basis. And these are things that you need to begin thinking about now, because if there are those in your life on the job that you want to keep around for many years to come, you got to start putting in the work now, because once you leave, well, remember all of those playmates we had in elementary school, middle school, high school, college? How many of those are still around? Why is that? We've lived long enough to figure this out. So grab a cup of coffee, sit back. We got some talking to do. So let's jump in the wonderful crystal ball of tomorrow. Today you're going to go in, it's your last day in the office, and tomorrow, crickets. It's fun for a little bit, so I hear. I haven't gone through yet. But what you believe is going to happen in your social life once you leave the workplace behind, could be startling. It's not personal. You haven't done anything wrong. It's just this whole psychology of social dynamics, and dear God, let's not get into that, because I am not an expert on anything other than I've experienced this as a contractor. It became very usual and customary. I would go in, I would do a job, love the coworkers. We had so much in common. It was the shared stress, the shared goal. It was the social activities after work. It was the sitting down for lunch, going to lunch with somebody because it was convenient and you need to do a work and lunch conversation anyway. But outside of that work framework, and this applies to everybody's job experience, how much social interaction did you do with these people to develop a foundational relationship that wasn't dependent on the shared pool of paychecks? Some of you have been with your jobs quite a few years. And yes, there's going to be some emotional angst saying goodbye to so many people. It is an emotional, psychological separation. And it affects all of us differently. But we women and men, you can listen in. This isn't part of the Secret Girl Club, but it is some insider information that might serve you well as your wife or your significant other or your spouse transitions into this next chapter. You'll better understand some of the blue funk they may find themselves in. But we women are social creatures, period. We're the first ones to gather around the water cooler. We're the first ones to throw a baby shower, go to lunch, etc., etc. Always asking after the kids and the pets and the spouses. That is part of our DNA. Now, I'm not as girly girl as some of y'all out there. I was blessed with a couple of sisters. I get my fill of female interaction. But for the majority of the women, work in church and other social groups are incredibly important to our psyche and who we are and who we will forever be. But with work, we have taken it for granted that we can wake up, get dressed, go into the office, see the same familiar smiling faces day after day. Some of you even clock when they wore that outfit last. I know you do. But we go to the office and it's just part of our identity. These are my tribe. When you leave your job, you are leaving the tribe. So I tell you all of this because if there are relationships that you want to preserve at your workplace. You need to start now building those foundational relationship bridges and bricks between now and the time you leave. Start asking them outside of work hours to get together. Unrelated, and set yourself some rules. No office talk, okay? Because that's been your shared experience all this time that y'all have been work friends, but now we want to become friends, not occupational based friends. So these are efforts you need to start putting in now. I tell you this because I don't want you to get to this next chapter and this next stage and have this big, giant, gaping void that you could have already been filling with building the foundational out of work skills you needed for the friends that you want to retain from the job. Now, don't try to do this with all 16 people in your department. You'll exhaust yourself, and honestly, some of them are best left in the rearview mirror. You make your choices. I am sure there's one or two in your office that you would love to continue to maintain a friendship. I've worked with these people for 7 years. I appreciate each and every one of them. Do I think that once I leave this warm bosom of employment, that these will continue to be my friends? The majority, no. We are fair weather, we are situational, we are occupational based acquaintances. There is a adult lesson that we all should have learned. Friendship is for me, a very deep meaning. It is, I hold my friends to a very high standard. Pretty much, they have to have the exact same qualities I would pick in a spouse in order to get into the gin behind the music, etc. So there are very few people on this team that I would identify as worthy. And this is where you get to make your calls as well. Don't just give it away to anybody. Your friendship has so much value. Your time, your emotional commitment, it has value. So make sure you choose your friends wisely. Always, if you haven't learned these lessons yet, but choose your friends wisely, because your time and intention and investment into these relationships has so much value, because whatever you're giving to them is something you're not able to give elsewhere in your life. So choose your friends wisely. But if there's nobody in your collection of people at work that you want to build a outside of the workplace foundation on, you need to start looking around at what else you got in life, because especially we women, guys, you need them too, but you're forever showing yourselves to be a completely different animal than we are. But if you need social interaction, if you are somebody who is going to have somebody to pick the phone and call when something goes sideways, or you just want to chat, or you're feeling a little under the weather or lonely, then you need to start figuring out where those foundational relationships are in your life and start nurturing them. Don't wait until you get to this next chapter and you wake up without an alarm clock and you got nobody to call and your phone's not ringing and you're wondering why. So you've been forewarned. It's up to you to take action right now. So it's not that work friends disappear. It's basically that they were never actually friends. They were like players in your work sitcom. You would go to work, to the set every day. There would be walk-on conversations. There would be laughter moments. There'd be drama moments. But that's all they really have been. And the sooner you realize that, the more comfortable you're going to be with realization that when you transition from this work environment, they're going to keep performing on the exact same sitcom set that you're walking away from. These are your choices. You've got better things to do. You've got more adventures to have. You got a whole life that is waiting. And trust me, there will be other people in it, but you have to choose the people you want in it each and every time. All right, so I'm Jenny. I got a little to say about a lot of stuff. Yes, I am fired up about transitioning into the next stage of my life. I've got a plan that I'm working. So I've planned the work. I'm working the plan. There's plenty of information below. Go and grab it. There's a Master Your Money plan. If you're interested in figuring out if you have enough money, you first have to start with how much money you got right now and what your expenses are. There's also a life experiences to income workbook. This is to help you figure out what skills you might have and how to monetize them, especially if you find out once you figure out what your monthly expenses are and how much money you've got, if there's a gap. Okay, are you wanting to leave this job, transition to something else prior to 65 in retirement, and maybe you don't want to go get another full-time job? Well, this workbook will help walk you through how to fill your income gap with something that you produce on your own time in your own way. There's also some other workbooks down there, but the most important one is the Retirement Reality Reset Kit. This one is incredibly important. It's not a freebie, but it's very affordable. Go down, check it out, go to my website. Also, I have a companion spreadsheet for that. So you work the workbook and you plug the numbers into the spreadsheet, and like magic, everything is done for you. So go snag that, share this video with somebody in life. I know you know somebody who needs this message. It may not be because they're about to transition, but maybe they need to understand why the people they thought at work were their friends aren't their friends. We've learned these lessons over and over and over again, starting probably in preschool. So let's just look in the rearview mirror and see all, I don't want to say the bodies on the road behind us, but the meetings that were seasonal. There we go. For every time there is a season, every season there is a time, there's a song somewhere. All right, so like, share, subscribe. Keep coming back. I post on Wednesdays and Saturdays. I will see you again soon. Stop recording. So, who you personally have raised up because they started fresh out of high school or fresh out of college, and you've put some effort into them and they've bloomed and now they're in management. They may even be your manager. I've done that once or twice. Ended up going back to work for somebody I trained because I adored them. And I respected them because I knew where they got their skill set from. Okay, but that's not this conversation. So, not me. I'm not a clothes hound. I say that instead of saying a clothes bore without the W in front of it. Maybe it's, let's go get a cup of coffee. I found this new Thai restaurant, whatever. But completely, maybe you do a book club. Start a book club outside the office and no shop talk. Okay? All right. For those of us who, and for me, this is kind of more me than not, I have always had the contractor mentality. I'm in, I do a job, I'm out of there. I have intentionally, by choice, developed very few work relationships that I wanted to take into the next stage of my life, regardless of if it was a 6-month gig or a 3-year gig, etc. The motivation originally was this: when I began to supervise people back in my early 20s. Unapproachable, I've always been fun. Okay, you either love me or hate me. But for me, yes, there are 1 or 2 precious people on this team that I will carry forward. We have built a relationship outside of this office. There is one additional one. I would like to say we will always be friendly. I hope that we will stay social. We have some common threads, but we'll see. We'll see. I'm not going to be heartbroken if not.